Kevin and Jeff put the word in Bischoff's ear, and Bischoff wound up calling me. And that was honestly, bro, that was really the start of the Attitude Era, because Bischoff winded up calling me, and I was like, bro, I want to come work for you guys. And John, I felt so guilty about having that conversation with Eric that I made I set up a meeting with Linda McMahon like the next day, because I wanted to ask Linda. I had one question for Linda. If you think all I'm capable of is writing the magazine, I need you to tell me that. Because if she would have said yes, I would have went full bore and tried to get hired by WCW. So I went in there to ask her that question, and that's where Vince McMahon walked in. And that's where I asked, I asked the question. Vince got hot at me. And I said, bro, I'm trying to help you. He got hot at me. He cut a promo on me. And I think this was a Friday, John, to be honest with you. I think it was a Friday. That Monday was perhaps the worst Raw in history, where it was it was like one team was in the US, the other team was in the UK. It was that Raw. And the next morning is when I got called into Vince's office, and he, knighted me, whatever that, but it was all because of, I wanted to go to WCW. This should be wrestling in 1995, 1996. This is where it was at. That's how it all started, man.
So we'll fast forward actually to you actually joining WCW, but before that, obviously WCW, NWO, they're kicking ass. Sting and Hogan have that year-long feud. Yes, Starrcade '97 was not how it should have ended, but 700,000 pay-per-view buys. I mean, WCW just kicking ass, just killing it. Sting and Hogan are just like the two big draws, and obviously Hogan is the draw. But then obviously NWO, they do the Wolfpack, do the Black and White, NWO Hollywood. It starts petering out. They killed off the Golden Goose. They killed off the NWO. The Attitude Era, Austin, The Rock, Mike Tyson, Undertaker, Foley, Kane. I mean, you guys just start. And Vince himself, yep. And then you're writing it. You guys are kicking ass and taking names. Eventually, obviously, and we talked about this before, but you actually end up leaving WWF because Vince being Vince, you end up leaving, and then you go to WCW. So you finally do get to WCW, obviously not when you initially wanted to, but years later you get there. What was like the initial thoughts? Like, oh, I'm going to be going to be working with the Hulkster.
Oh yeah, bro. That was my number one thing. My number one thing, bro, was I was going to be working with the two biggest icons in wrestling that I had never worked with before. I was going to be working with Hogan and Flair. I mean, that was really first and foremost on my mind. And bro, I'll never forget, like, the first time I ever laid eyes on Hogan, bro, this guy did not trust me as far as he could throw me. He already had made up in his mind that I was there to get all the younger talent over and, push the younger talent and send him out to pasture. He already had that. Already had that made up in his mind. He had said on interviews that, people told him that was my plan, which it never was. I had no intention whatsoever of getting rid of Hogan and Flair. At that point, they just needed to be repositioned. That's all I was looking to do. But bro, the guy did not trust me from day one. And bro, let's also be honest, John. It didn't help that he was still buddies with Bischoff. I had more or less replaced Bischoff, so yep. I'm sure Bischoff was feeding him a lot of this stuff. But bro, I'll be honest. Like, I don't feel like I ever had a chance with Hulk Hogan.
It seems like other people that he knew and trusted maybe aren't giving him always the best advice, which we were talking about even later on in life too. Unfortunately, they're not giving him good advice, and he's just a man here. He's not a perfect human being here. He's going to take advice and listen to other people. So maybe he's listening to the wrong people. And obviously, if Bischoff is saying something like, "Hey, I don't know about this guy," or even let's say Sullivan's like, "Brother, I don't know if we could trust this guy, brother."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely, absolutely, 1000%. Yep.
So it doesn't get off on the right foot with the Hulkster. And then the legends, obviously, we've talked about this a million times, we've talked about all the WCW pay-per-views, but the legends kind of leave, and then, you're obviously, whatever you want to do with them booking-wise, but they're obviously probably talking to each other, too. Like him and Flair probably, I don't know about this. I don't trust this guy. So it's not a good start for you there.
Well, but John, that's the thing. You got to understand something, bro. Like when you had been around it for as long as I had, I knew this was happening. I knew this was going on, but I was hired by WCW, and I honestly felt that was the best thing to do at the time. We had to get that undercard. We had to elevate that undercard because guys like Hogan and guys like Savage and all the guys that were on top were getting older. So we did have to develop the Benoits and the Malenkos and the Guerreras, the Jerichos. We had to elevate that. Well, not Jericho. I had already brought Jericho into WWE, but I knew what was going on, but I also knew that was the right thing to do for business. So whatever was going to happen was going to happen.
It's one of those things where there's already animosity even before you really get going, and then when that happens, it just adds to it. Like nothing's going to help.
Nope, 1000%.
So we've talked about this before, but maybe not in great detail. But Hogan loses in 3 seconds to Sting at Havoc '99. Was there a reason why, like, it wasn't longer? It was like, because I know he's talked about before, there wasn't anything for him.
And and that's bullshit. And I even told Bubba that because Bubba recently played the clip. Hulk said that he was supposed to job to Sting or something like that.
Yeah.
And he asked Bill Bush where we were going with that, and Bill Bush said, they had nothing for him creative. That entire story is bullshit. That entire story was Hulk's paranoia. Bill Bush, I did not have creative meetings with Bill Bush. Bill Bush did not know where I was going creatively. He was never involved in creative. So whether or not Bill Bush told him, "Oh, they don't have anything for you," bro, that may have come from the top because maybe they couldn't afford to pay him anymore. That did not come from me. I had a plan, and I've told you the plan about the Avengers. And one by one, if you look at my TV, you see it. He jobbed out to Sting. We dumped Flair. In the desert. Roddy Piper destroyed the set. We were trying to get rid of Piper. If Perfect loses one more match, Curt Hennig's out of WCW. Freaking Savage cut a promo on me. That's where it was going. Anybody that goes back and looks at WCW, you can see every one of those legends was getting forced out. That was the story. That's where it was going. So John, I promise you, in all the years that I wrote for every company, never once did I ever say, I don't have anything for you, or I don't know where I'm going for you. If I ever felt that a talent was never going to get over, I would tell a Bill Bush or I would tell a Dixie Carter, there's no use in keeping somebody on the roster if you don't think they're going to get over. So if you're on my roster, bro, if I ever say to you, I don't have anything for you, I should be fired. As the head of creative, it is my job to have something for you. And I clearly had something for Hulk. And even when Bubba just played that again, I contacted Bubba and I'm like, brother, please, that is so freaking untrue. There was a plan in place for Hulk at the time.
So obviously with Hulk, you end up leaving. You're gone as writer. Then he leaves, but then he comes back when Sullivan's writing. Then you come back again, and